Good morning, YouTube friends. It is June 20th and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. My name is Lex and welcome to Sandals and Steel-Toes. This is my YouTube channel related to gardening, homesteading, how-to. We live in Northeast Ohio, which is Zone 6A, and we have our home here on just under 3-acre property. We're at 2.75 acres. We grow a big garden. We just got chickens, kind of live this very hybrid lifestyle of your modern family, mom, dad, 2 kids, both with full-time jobs, and merging into a life that is more sustainable, growing our own food, preserving, canning, and just trying to make good choices for the family. The first time you've ever been to my channel, welcome, and if you're a returning visitor, we are going to take a look at the garden today. We're gonna just look at the vegetable garden today. I'm not gonna go onto a whole entire garden tour with the perennials. I'm gonna be saving those for a separate video to try and cut down on time a little bit of the length. We have been getting tons of rain the last couple days, which has been great. Last summer we didn't get that much rain, so I'm really excited to get all of this, and it's really helping the garden pick up. Our temps are good. They've been in the upper 70s, low 80s, which has been feeling amazing. We've had all this rain, so the garden's growing. So it's been probably about a month since I shot the last garden tour, so a lot has changed, and we're just gonna go through it. First, we must say hello to our pretty kitty, who's hungry. She's gonna follow us the entire time because she hasn't had breakfast yet, and she wants it. This is the garden. And like I said, it has really taken off. So walking in, I've got these 2 newer garden bed spaces that I've been slowly working on. They're just kind of these not neat circles, and I had them tilled and had cardboard laid on top, and then I've just gotten to getting most of things planted in there. Onions and just for ornamental things, sweet potato vines, salvia. This is a cool little iron statue my mom painted. So I've got zinnias and other little things popping up in there. Same with that one. The one on the far end hasn't been completed yet. That's still full of cardboard. I'm not sure what I'm doing here yet, and I'm also laying cardboard all along the fence because I want to get the grass dead on there and grow some stuff up the fence too. This fence is so new to us. Carmen put it up a few months ago when we got our chickens, and there's just so much potential of all the food that we could grow up along the fence. In the very front here of this garden space is another really just pretty flower bed. I have all kinds of different things in here. Sunflowers, dahlias, nasturtiums. I have one of my ornamental purple peppers growing, and it has little peppers on it, so that's really neat. Carmen tried one yesterday. He said it was hot. I have promised to try one. And I have fennel growing, cosmos, I have marigolds in here, calendula, basil, borage, all kinds of stuff growing in there. So that's going to be a really pretty entrance space coming into the garden. And then back in this area, this is the pepper bed. Pepper and some lettuces with volunteer sunflowers. I should add, all of the sunflowers that I have are all volunteers from last year. And it's funny because in this little space, for the last 5 years, I've always had 3 giant sunflowers right in this area, and I didn't even plant them, and they came back in a perfect row. So I thought that was cool. But all these peppers are growing. They've been looking kind of poopy recently, but with all this rain we've had, they're actually looking a lot better than they did. But these are, up here is the Carmen Italian pepper. So my husband's name is Carmen, and since he had a pepper with his name, I had to grow it. So we have lots of those. These are cool. So this is a very neat variety. It's called a fish pepper, and it has cool variegation on the leaves. More marigolds in here. I have lots of tomato volunteers in here because this is the area where tomatoes were last year. So they're kind of sprinkled all over the place. I'm leaving them for now, and I don't know, I'll probably pull them out or just keep them pruned real low. I like to have the diversity in the garden, but I don't need more tomato plants. So I have all of these written down. What is this? This is a sweet cherry pepper. We've got shishito peppers, bell peppers, more of those purple ornamental ones. Lots of cool peppers growing in here. And along the edge is lettuce that I recently harvested, most of it for a farmer's market that I attended 2 days ago. It's the first one that I've done. We have banana peppers already set in fruit now. So I started all of my peppers at the very end of January and early February around the Valentine's Day. It definitely gave them a head start, so I'm pretty excited about how they're looking. These are potatoes. They're just like a white potato, a Kennebec variety, and some red potatoes. These all got planted in ground sometime in March. And so you can see how nice they're looking. I've got flowers on them. And I just mulch with straw. I really should put another layer of straw on it, but we'll see if I get to that. But the potatoes are looking great. I think we'll probably have some to harvest. Okay, I would say within a month, probably by July. And I do have plans to start some more potatoes for like a fall crop. And then down this bed is more greens. I have dinosaur kale, dwarf curly kale, which is this. The Dinos kale, or lacinato kale, Nero di Toscana, it has various names, but I just love how these look. I think they're so cool. I mean, when I saw these plants, you know, on different vlogs and stuff, I was like, oh, I will have to grow them because I think they just look really neat and interesting in the garden. And they taste good. And then this kale, it's like a smaller leaf, but it's all kind of curly and flurry. And I have a ragged jack up in here too. So all the kale's doing really good. Again, I just picked a lot of it down for the farmer's market and sold some of that. A lot of the lettuce I had in here has bolted already, but I haven't gotten to tearing that out. So nasturtiums, I've got marigolds in here everywhere. That's a cilantro that has gone to seed. These are rutabagas that I just pulled up 2 yesterday that were massive, so you can see the holes still in there. And this one is actually a pretty good size, looks like, too. So I'll probably pull that up within the next week. And then all along in the middle of this entire bed, I have okra planted. So as these leafy greens and things are kind of coming to the end here, as it gets warmer, the okra will have a chance to take off. So I have all these planted. I've got a Jing orange okra, a hill country red, that's Clemson spineless. I have a couple different varieties of okra. So I'm excited that this will be all filled in with okra, and I think I'm gonna sow more lettuce in here. So that way the okra, as that grows, will shade out the lettuce and hopefully keep it from bolting. Here is where I had those white low tunnels, and that was for all my spring crops to keep them safe. We took those off for 2 reasons. One, this is all raspberries. This entire, whoosh, that's a lot of raspberries. I don't know, that might be 40 feet, 50 feet, something like that, of raspberries. These are gonna be ripening up here, or usually around the first week of July is when I start harvesting raspberries. I have a video last summer on July 4th, just picking tons of raspberries for a dessert for a July 4th party, and that was a really humid, hot day. So we're getting close to that, just a couple weeks away, and we'll have the raspberries. We'll also have the Japanese beetles, so I really need to be vigilant on trying to keep them off, because when the raspberries come on, so do the beetles. But anyways, sidetrack. So these bushes are getting huge, so I wanted the white covers out of here and kind of out of my way. And then secondly, I'm gonna be tearing a lot of all of this out this week and probably putting in beans, bush beans. So like this is the toy choy. Never really even got a chance to have any of this. I didn't harvest it and then it bolted, and so here we are. But I have some other things growing, some different varieties of like broccoli that actually didn't form a head. So, I mean, things like that I'm just gonna leave in here. You know, I've got leeks in here. I'm gonna leave Swiss chard kind of all buried in here. I really like that this garden is so filled in and just things are kind of over top of each other because it does help with the weed control. And I've got kohlrabi, which, so I think some of them I may have missed my window. Like this one, there's like no ball on the bottom. It's supposed to form a ball. And this is just like a long skinny stem. So I'm not quite sure what happened with that. But I do have some others in here that, you know, they do have the ball. Like that one there. So that one turned out good. I mean, it's still really small, like, compared to my hand, like it's just small. But we did try a couple of them. Kohlrabi to me is like a apple cabbage flavor. Like it's not bitter. I mean, I enjoyed it. Like here's another one that looks a little bit better. Oh, more dinosaur kale. And yeah, I don't know what this is. I think it's some kind of broccoli. And another reason I kept my low tunnel cover on, yeah, there's broccoli, you know, is to help deter the cabbage moths from like getting on my brassicas. But I've found the cabbage moth poop on these, so they still have gotten in here, probably on days that I kept the lid open a little bit for some ventilation. So I just took them off. The Chinese cabbages, which I think are getting close. Now the slugs have been really doing a number on it. I did just get some diatomaceous earth to sprinkle on these to help maybe with the slugs, because these are starting to form heads now, so I'm excited about those. Oh, nice. One of my red kales took off finally. That's good. Volunteer sunflower. Another one. This was spinach that has gone to seed. So I think I harvested spinach once and then it's went to seed. Now I have these in here. I can't remember what it is. It's either a red Brussels sprout or a red express cabbage, because I planted and started both of them. I'm thinking it might be the Brussels sprout, but if you know, drop me a comment. Because if it's a Brussels sprout, I should leave it, right? So it can continue to grow. They take a while. They take like 190 days to grow or something. But yeah, all the spinach in here is done. But yeah, there's another one of those, so I'm not quite sure what that is. I think it might be a Brussels sprout. I had a lot of Brussels sprouts in here. And then some other little cabbage, just regular flat leaf green cabbage seedlings I got from a nursery, and we'll leave those there. So this space will look very different with the beans and tearing out a lot of this and putting the beans in. And then down here at the very end of it, it's just a wild space, but more Brussels sprouts are in here, more kale. It's really packed into this little section and thriving really good. So I'm just gonna leave all that here. If anything looks good and is doing well, I'm gonna leave it. It is already getting hot this morning. So in here, bunch of varieties of tomatoes. I'm not going to go through all the kinds I have today because there are a lot. I'll probably save that for when the tomatoes are actually coming on. But they're starting to, and they're looking good. They're really taking off on growing from this rain. So I've been working on getting tomatoes trellised. Oh, time for church. So I have these black diamond watermelons growing. And they're still little seedlings, but they're also enjoying this rain, getting a lot of growth. I have not had luck with watermelons, any kind of melons. So around this little teepee, I have cucumbers and Kajari melons. And like, look how many seedlings are in here. There's tons because I just wanted to make sure we had melons growing because I've not had a good harvest of melons yet to my gardening experience. So Madhu Raz melon, this is the moon and stars. So those spots are okay. That's how they grow. They're supposed to look like stars. And I have cantaloupe and a little bit of pest damage. They will all grow up and around this teepee. My idea is like the smaller melons, like the Kajari and the cucumbers, will kind of ramble up the teepee. I know the rest of them will need to stay on ground, they'll be too heavy. But if this space grows, then it'll look really cool. Like I said, the melons, I've not had good luck with melons. If you are in my area, Zone 6A, Ohio, Northeast Ohio, or even Canada across the lake, Western New York, Western PA. If you grow melons and have been successful at it, I would love to hear your tips because I just have had I just haven't had really good luck of getting them to grow. The melons that usually set fruit, there's like just a couple, 2 or 3, and they're very small. I really need help in the melon department. Haven't had good luck with those, so any advice that anyone has, I would be so grateful for you to share it. We have beautiful Eden climbing rose. It was really stunning a couple weeks ago, and now a lot of the blooms are dying back, but it's still super lovely. I'll put a picture of what it looked like in its prime, and with all the rain, just like dripping water. And then back here in this bed, I've got a couple different types of bush beans growing. I already forget what they were. A jade bush bean maybe. This is a gray zucchini. That's looking good. And nasturtiums in here. More marigolds because they're everywhere. This is a dwarf tomato plant. 506 dwarf. And it's so interesting, like it just feels so much different than other tomato plants. It's so compact. I'm really not sure how big it gets. It's probably like a foot tall right now, but it feels really strong and sturdy. So I'm not doing anything with this. I'm not going to try and prune it. I'm leaving it because I've never grown a dwarf tomato and I'm interested what that does. We have more peppers, and this has been my project this weekend, is getting the tomatoes trellis. I'm using a T-post, rebar, and PVC tees as my support clothesline rope to trellis them up. I found this idea online. Now that I actually got a lot of them up off the ground, I was surprised how big they were. So I was thinking, man, why aren't my tomatoes growing? They look so tiny, but they were mostly laid over. This row, a lot are still very small. But again, they're gonna really catch up this week with all the rain. All of these are the like cherry tomato varieties. Along this one are like all of the slicer types. Row here is more slicers and like paste. And I've got a variety on the other side, so I have tomatoes everywhere. I have a volunteer potato plant, which came back up on its own. I think this might be one of the red potatoes because it's got that purple flower. So I had red and white potatoes all in this area last year. So that's nice. With a little volunteer, I left that. So lots of good tomatoes. Got some squash over here. This is a cream of the crop acorn. Oh, so that's looking nice. I have a friend over there for it. And then I have loofah gourds, which are very small. And I heard that they take a while to take off, and then when they do, they take over. And I'm very late in having these planted. I mean, in May I planted them, and they really take quite some time to get going. But those are my little experimental thing this year to see how that does, and learn from that. And then back here is all the corn. 4 long rows of corn planted. Just a sweet corn is the majority. On the ends, I do have a block section for gem corn. So I'm excited because that'll be just pretty to look at, and then this will be nice to eat. So they've just all really picked up in the last week as well. I might thin them out a little bit because they're kind of close together. But so this whole section is a new garden space. I put leaf mulch on it at the end of last fall, and then the grass still grew through a lot of the leaf mulch, so I ended up tilling it, creating these raised rows and putting this black landscape fabric over it to keep the weeds down. So this first year, you know, it would definitely be very weed heavy because it's freshly tilled, but next year, as long as I keep it mulched, then it'll be really nice and ready to plant in. So yeah, those are my low tunnels. We moved them back there and there's nothing in them right now. I don't know what I'm going to use with, probably nothing until fall. Over here I have eggplants, which are being nommed on by the flea beetles. So again, the diatomaceous earth I got will help with that. I'm just waiting for it to not have rain in the forecast for a couple days so I can apply that. That'll wash off right away in the rain. And then all of these are hot peppers. So I kept the hot peppers separated from the sweet peppers on the other side there. And I've got like jalapenos and sugar rush peat, chocolate habaneros, chili peppers, so lots of hottie things, which I don't really eat, but I'm growing them. I'll find a way to use them. And then more on the raised beds up here in the trellis hallway. Onions, gorgeous looking beets. At least the leaves are looking gorgeous. I don't know if we have much of a, yeah, there's a little bulb in there. I'm gonna let those in for a while. I wish I remembered the varieties. I don't know what they are. This massive thing is a carrot that was from last spring and I left it over winter. It grew and is flowering and I am loving how this looks. So it's a little flopped over right now because of the rain again. It should perk back up once it dries out, but that is a massive carrot bush. All of these are more radishes that have, you guessed it, gone to seed. I had black Spanish radish in here and just traditional little red cherry radishes. I'll try this again in the fall. Growing radishes in the spring is a crapshoot. These are green beauty peas, and these are a Baker Creek variety. So they're just giant peas. They're really good and crispy, crunchy, sweet. These are probably the favorite that I've grown so far of the peas. And they're about, if it was stretched up, yeah, they're about 6 feet tall, these plants. So they get really big. We have artichokes growing in here. So I've never grown an artichoke before, so those are experimental this year. More onions. Here's our Swiss chard plant that I was so impressed about it growing over winter uncovered, and it's starting to bolt, so I gotta cut this down. It's just been so hot. And got more squash in here. This is just like regular yellow squash. I have Armenian yard-long cucumbers. So they're dirty from all the rain. And the idea is they'll grow up this trellis. It's rhubarb, which I'm not gonna do anything with it this year. I'm just gonna let it grow, but I'm excited that it's, you know, doing its thing. Another calendula. Hello. Asparagus, which is pretty much, I've let create the ferns. Kind of stopped cutting on it just because I couldn't keep up with the asparagus. And then all the little wild strawberries that are down here. And they're actually a good size, but they are bitter. Not terrible. Actually, that one was pretty good. Now these are huge. And just look, it's like getting really close to climbing over top of this trellis. I've been really impressed with how tall these have gotten. Like, it's taller than me now. So I always love like this time of year when the peas get taller than me, and having them on the trellis just makes it even better because everything on an arch trellis is just better. So these are also really nice. They're crispy and sweet. I try to pick them in the morning. They seem the sweetest then, or like right at dusk. And then the peas variety up here are really short, but I checked the packet and then, you know, I checked the variety information again, and I remember reading that they don't get very tall, like 3 feet tall. But these are still good too. You know, your normal snap pea. This is the short pea trellis. And I have white patty pan squashes growing. So I've not been lucky with the patty pan before. I tried last year and I ended up getting cucumbers. The seedlings I bought said patty pan, but they definitely grew to be cucumbers. So I'm trying again with the patty pan. I have lots in here because I want to make sure I have squash. And I just saw on a video recently from, I think it was on Roots and Refuge, Jess and her friend Jill were talking, and they said something about radishes. If a radish has gone to seed, it helps deter squash bugs. And so I have tons of radishes that have gone to seed, but not in this bed specifically. So I pulled one up yesterday and tried to get, you know, all the root with it, and put it in here. I actually didn't think it was gonna make it. It was all flopped over yesterday and looked pretty pathetic, but it perked up. So I did plug, I'm just plugging in radishes around my squashes to see if that helps deter the squash bugs. Now we don't have them yet, but they will be here, they'll find these. So I'm hoping that trick, you know, that trick works. It'll be really exciting. More patty pan, lots of like flowers and zinnias and onions all along in here, marigolds. So I really like to fill in these cinder blocks with flowers. And I've got beans, whole beans, just coming up behind these peas. So I've got the red noodle beans, and I also do have like a regular green, what is it, Kentucky Wonder Bean growing on both of them. So those will be coming up. Last section I just wanted to show you is the garlic. So I planted all of my garlic bulbs at the end of October. I think it was October 30th or 31st. It was right by Halloween. And so now it's June 20th. These did produce garlic scapes, which I have cut off. And you can see the tips here are just starting to dry. So from what I understand, it's about, you want like 1/3 of the plant to be dry, the leaves to be dry before you pull your garlic. I did pull one out of the ground just to see, and it was a good size head of garlic, but definitely probably could have went longer. It wasn't fully like defined cloves yet. And so I'm gonna leave these in and just keep waiting to see. Oh, there are some scapes I missed. Oh, look at that. Okay, this is good. So if you see this growing on your garlic, this is a garlic scape, and this is what the plant sends up to create more seeds. So this, if you didn't cut it, would open up into like a flower, and it would grow seeds. And you can start garlic from seed. It just takes longer, you know, for it to mature, a couple years, versus just planting the cloves back in the ground. So you cut these off, and what that does is it stops the plant's energy into making a flower, and it puts that energy back into growing a big bulb. So I think maybe I'll leave this just to see what happens to it, because, you know, this is the first time I'm growing garlic, and I'm interested in learning about how garlic grows in all stages. So I might leave this one. I do see a couple others throughout here that I missed there and there, so I'm going to go back in and cut those down. Should be not too much longer before we start pulling up garlic. And then this space here was my my fall garden, my overwintered garden in my plastic low tunnel. And here's that plant again, the same one I'm in question of, if it was a cabbage or a Brussels sprout. But then there's that one too. I really don't know. I have both of them. Maybe this is the cabbage. It's kind of forming like a cabbage shape. Maybe that's the Brussels sprout. I'll just leave these. A lot of this stuff has went to seed. This was a cauliflower That one to seed, lots of stuff. So this was a broccoli. These are the seed pods. So if your broccoli goes to seed and it has the nice yellow flowers and then you see these crazy things, these are the seed pods. So when they dry up, you can take the seeds out and grow more plants, and you can also eat them. And they taste like the plant you're growing. So in this case, it tastes like broccoli. Yep. Woo! And that's a bitter broccoli. And once I start cleaning this bed up, because it's got tons of lettuce and chard and all these things that have gone to seed, I'm gonna clean it up. But I have lots of seedlings in here. This is a delicata squash. We really liked that last year, so I planted tons of them all along this way. I have more okra down here. So again, lots of just little okra seedlings. They're gonna start taking off once I pull this stuff out. And on this one is another acorn bush squash. So again, just tons of seedlings and little clusters all the way down. And I'm gonna thin these out. But I just started tons of seed because I just wanted to make sure we had a nice harvest of squash, because I didn't feel like I had that many last year. This is the garden in all its beautiful June glory. And it is getting so big now. It's hard to capture it all in one frame anymore, which is awesome considering where we started from not that long ago. I mean, there it is. When we moved in to this property, the garden consisted of these 4 wooden beds here. There is no trellis, but it was just these 4 wooden beds. There was a little section over here with a fence that they grew peas on, and like up in this area here were the raspberries. They had their raspberries, or blackberry, I'm sorry. They had blackberries planted up in here. And then like back over here where the tomatoes are is where they had the raspberry bushes. And so we moved all the raspberry bushes over there, and just kept adding all these spaces and, you know, tilling up new spaces, putting down mulch. Once an area has been tilled and mulched, I don't plan on tilling it again after that. It's just kind of the initial getting it started. And I know there's other ways around that, like here, laying down cardboard to kill grass. But when you're in a hurry, I guess, you have to use a different method. So my quick way of getting a garden space prepared is by tilling. It's so humid out already. And it's not even that early. It's 10 o'clock. It's getting humid. My hair is getting crazy. And we need to start the day and get going and finishing up trellising the tomatoes. I did want to show you one last thing, which I'm really excited about. Ta-da! My future greenhouse. So I had mentioned we had plans of building a window greenhouse this year, and we decided to wait on that. I have all the windows, but the wood lumber prices to build a frame is just not something we want to spend right now. So we looked into some used options. We actually got a hoop type greenhouse, which we haven't put up yet, but we will. We're gonna put that up in the garden and overwinter the chickens in that. Probably, I think that's what we're gonna do. But Carmen, a coworker of his, bought a house and they had this greenhouse and they didn't want it, so we ended up buying it. And Carmen, bless him, drove an hour away to go take a look at it, liked it, it's in good shape. He took it all apart on his own, brought it home, and then yesterday started to put it back together, and it rained all day yesterday, so he did that in the rain, which is just really sweet and such an act of love for me, because like he's not a gardener, that's not his thing, but he knows that like how passionate I am about it and like how much it means to me. So like out of love for me, he does these kind of things. He builds things for me, is like he fixes things and he gets my my equipment going, like the rototiller. I can never get that thing started, so you know, just having him here to help with that is just such a blessing, because I mean, a lot of this I would not be able to do, like building a fence, building a greenhouse. I'm not mechanically inclined at all. I'm just more like artistic and planner type when it comes to like measuring and numbers and things like that. I check out. So I'm so thankful to have him. This is a work in progress right now, and it should be done by the next time we do a tour, and I'll be able to do greenhouse tours, which is so exciting. So lots of big future plans for this thing. Very excited about that. Okay, so thanks for walking through the garden with me on this very hot and humid morning. Oh man, all this rain is just, the air is thick and I am glistening in this weather right now. But I love the summer. I love it being warm. I am not a cold person, so this is okay for me, and I'll deal with it. So thanks for walking through the garden. Yeah, lots of changes. It's continuously growing, getting bigger, getting beautiful, and I can't believe we're already towards the end of June. Like, what happened? The summer just started, the growing season just started, and it just goes too fast. Back for more garden videos soon. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Make sure you do something you love today. Take care, everyone. Bye.